We've got you covered all season long. Welcome to the BCSN Nation podcast, powered by Buffalo Wild Wings.
All right, here it is. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 16 of the BCSN Nation podcast, powered by none other than Buffalo Wild Wings. Let's go, sports bar. Brandon Carnes here with Justin Feldkamp and Deon Thompson. It's hoop season. We got the guy here with us all season long, not just through 2024. He's with us through the new year, too. Don't you worry. Gentlemen, we are about a week or so into the boys basketball season, a little bit longer for the girls hoops side of things. I want to know your takeaways so far from this early young basketball season. Deon, you can go first.
I think it's going to be a great year.
I think I agree.
When I watched that Orchard Lake St. Mary versus St. John's game, St. John's had the game won. Free throws killed them. Obviously, there are no moral victories, but you got to look at how loaded Orchard St. Mary was. They got two Division I guys, major guys. I think the guys here showed that they could play with anybody.
Yeah.
So, that was one of my takeaways. And another takeaway, I think the City League is going to be outstanding. Lima Senior, Rogers, and Start. Those three are going to battle. So that's what I took away from the first week, and I'm excited about it because I get to talk about it every Friday.
And you've got, no complaints for me for how last Friday went because Trey McKinney, right, the star, he's going to Michigan from Orchard Lake, 11 points, right? They controlled him in the game. Obviously didn't go their way. We'll talk a little bit about that later when we talk about St. John's. City League's going to be a blast. Justin, what you got?
Yeah, I like that. I just echo his sentiments because I think St. John's can play. We talked about how it would have to be a balanced team effort and kind of draw out the imaginary shot clock in regards to kind of slowing down the pace a little bit. And they did that, and that worked almost to the very end. You just got to knock down some free throws, and that was an impactful stat in a game that we're going to talk about here in just a little bit with Whitmer and Lima Senior from Tuesday night. But I like the competitive balance. Early on, it is kind of hard to diagnose each and every team just through sporadic games because some teams, if you look at the record, some teams have played 5 games by now. Some have played 2. So it's still a lot up for grabs. Yeah,
I think my takeaway from the first little chunk of time is we got some star power on the court here in Northwest Ohio, right? You've got, obviously, West. You've got Mekhi Leach. You've got Mac Russell, Foster down there in Limer, Elise Bender, Victoria Gray, Brandon Ingram dropped 28 for Southview over the weekend. Our player of the week dropped 37, a little tease there. Plenty coming up today on the episode and plenty coming up throughout the season for hoops. We've got our player of the week. We'll recap what happened in Canton last week with the Fighting Irish, our renewal by Anderson clip of the week, and of course our game of the week. So much more coming up. Make sure you're here every single Wednesday for a brand new episode. Only one left after today in 2024 before we take our little holiday siesta. And, of course, make sure you're listening everywhere you get your podcast or at bcsnnation.com/podcast. And while you're there, hit the follow button on any social media platform at BCSN Sports. But we're starting in Canton. We're taking you back to last Friday. The Irish taking on Bishop Waterson, a rematch of the 2023 state title game. Unfortunately, the three-peat did not fulfill itself. A 19-14 final score, the Irish fall. And Justin, you and I were there, and it was, Deon and I were talking about before the podcast, a tale of two halves. 44 yards for Bishop Waterson in the first half. That was it. Total yardage, 44. Second half, 236 yards. They got it going in the second half, Deon.
And that's where coaching comes in. You talk about halftime adjustments.
Sure.
They saw something, obviously, in the Irish. They did a good job of controlling football the whole second half. I still think it was a winnable game for Central.
Yeah.
And I anticipate seeing this game even next year.
I'm in.
Like Central Catholic, there's a lot of good young guys. Bishop Waterson, they had a lot of young guys too. So this is going to be a matchup that we're going to see. I thought Ali Beydoun played an outstanding game.
Yeah.
Fuller. Now, here's a story. Jeremiah Fuller, I thought he played great. He's a sophomore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Went to high school with his dad. Dad was a great football player as well. So you got a lot of young talent, I think, on both sides. So we could see this matchup probably next year.
Yeah, I'm down for it. I talked about Jeremiah Fuller, 86-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Beydoun played well, just a sophomore as well, threw that interception in the red zone.
He recovered a fumble too, didn't he?
Recovered a fumble on a special teams play. He's a special teams guru throughout the day was Jeremiah Fuller. Justin, we were there. I'm down for this rematch next year. Hopefully for you and I's sake, it's a little warmer, though.
It's December in Ohio.
I have dreams.
A couple of notes here on this game. They almost did enough for virtually the entire season. Central Catholic's defense did just enough, or even more so throughout the entire season. They had a 4th down and 13, and they had to get a stop. And I think not a guarantee get a stop there and you guarantee a win, but it's going to be awfully difficult for Bishop Watterson to get anything going with a small amount of time on the clock. They did have some timeouts that they could have used to stop the clock, but hey, give credit where credit's due. And Coach Dempsey did that after the game. He said, hey, Bishop Watterson made a play, top-tier quarterback to a top-tier superb tight end / wide receiver, number 85. Yeah. So they converted that and then converted it into a touchdown. Defense was on the field for 16 plays and then 6.5 minutes before Jeremiah Fuller's kick return and then after. So talking with some of the staff members, when you're on the field for that duration, that can play and take a toll.
Absolutely.
And that played off in the fourth quarter a little bit. And Central's offense didn't score a single point in the second half. The only points were from that kickoff return. Yeah. So keep that in mind. But hats off to the seniors. Seniors went 45-3 over the past 3 years. Many of them played varsity as sophomores, juniors, and seniors. But as Dion mentioned, lots of impactful sophomores and juniors. So yes, even if that wasn't the case, I would still say what I'm about to say. Central will be back again because that's just what Coach Dempsey does, and he keeps that tight-knit coaching staff, and they just continue to churn out top-tier talent. And if you want to bring up the recruiting aspect, blah, 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 you know what? Here's what Coach Dempsey just has to do. Here's my resume, 5 state championships over 25 years, 2 other appearances in the state championship, and they develop kids. They develop kids because they want to come there and get better at football and then go change, in some cases, their family's outcomes when it comes to getting college scholarships.
I can speak to that personally.
Yeah, absolutely. If anybody in this room can talk about it, it's the man to my left.
Yeah, and it's the truth. They do a good job of developing guys, and it's a spiritual development as well as the physical part, which is what they stress. And I hear the recruiting stuff, but let's be honest. Everybody talks to kids. And there's nothing wrong with, in my opinion.
And the kids are reaching out to each other.
They are. What's wrong with saying, hey, our school is good? I mean, I think everybody should do that.
Sure.
And they do it. But I think they're going to be fine. And this year, they were really a defensive-minded team.
Absolutely,
They won a lot of close games based on defense. They didn't score a lot. I expect that to change because some of those guys are growing up now. And they have weapons, as we see on the offensive side.
Yeah, we will continue to see Ali Beydoun grow. The Irish will probably put up a lot more points next season, but somebody put up a whole lot of points, and there's a reason that person is our Sean's Irish Tavern Player of the Week. We got a new wipe. Cisco, hit him with it. Well, we don't have it rolling right now, all right? Sometimes you get technical difficulties. Things don't work out the way you want them to, but we got a graphic. The graphic's good enough if you're listening. If you were listening, you never even saw the wipe anyway, so it didn't even matter. 𝗦𝗫će 𝗶𝗵𝘁, our player of the week from Sean's Irish Tavern, just a casual 37 points in their win over Woodward last week. He dropped 36 when they played EC. 𝗦𝗫će 𝗶𝗵𝘁 knows how to fill up the bucket, Dion.
Well, he was my pick.
Yeah, Dion's pick. I have it in my notes. Don't you worry.
I got to put that
it's
down
in my
there
notes. Dion's 1-0.
I know everybody's watching this, but hey, listen, that man was about buckets. Yeah. I mean, you think about it. And they finished the game with 4 guys. Think about it. Wade won the game, then they had to finish with 4 players. But that guy, I mean, if you can drop 37 and 36, you can flat out hoop. And that's what I like. I like hoopers. Shouts out to Malik.
Yeah, and maybe in some ways fitting that Wade won a game on that particular date, the day in which Adam Rodriguez, their longtime coach, passed away. I know you guys broke it down and commented on that tragic loss on Game Day Nation this past Friday. But, sometimes there's some special forces at play. And our condolences to Adam Rodriguez and his family.
Yeah, absolutely. Our condolences and our congratulations go obviously to 𝗦𝗫će 𝗶𝗵𝘁, a 60-59 win for Wade, their first of the season, carried by his 37 points. And now we'll be right back after 30 seconds from Buffalo Wild Wings.
Buffalo Wild Wings, buy one, get one free. Boneless Thursdays saved me so much cash. I can finally do everything I've ever wanted in life, like skydiving. You ready? No, this was a mistake, a huge mistake. I want to go back. Go, go! Yeah, I'll probably just use the money I saved to get more buy one, get one free boneless wings at B-Dubs. No brainer. Buffalo Wild Wings. Let's go sports bar.
At participating locations, not valid with other offers or discounts. See website or app for details.
Skydiving may be a mistake. It was not a mistake, though, if you tuned into Friday's NLL matchup on the court. Perrysburg and Northview. Northview on the road gets the 47-40 win on the girls' side of it. A 4-1 start to the season for the Cats. 3-2 is Perrysburg as things sit right now. Northview's only lost to Victoria Gray and Bedford just north of the border. That only a 2-point loss. This is a heck of a game and a good second half for Northview in this one, Justin.
Yeah, they came out victorious, and both of these teams are going to be looking up at Anthony Wayne in the NLL Buckeye division because of the prominence of several players on the Generals team, of which we will highlight in our top recruit segment. Some of you loyal BCSN followers saw that we had that during the football season. That top recruits will carry over into the basketball season. Dion and Rhett helped us put together 5 boys and 5 girls. Elise Bender and her sister Brooke Bender are 2 of our 5 girls that will represent. That feature story will be on Friday's Game Day Nation. But back to this Northview and Perrysburg game with Pat Sayer, 10 years at Northview, Todd Sims, 16 years at Perrysburg. So these guys know how to coach. They've earned their stripes, and they've built programs, not just, okay, I'll coach for 1 or 2 years. They're committed to the development of the girls from freshman year all the way up, and in some cases before freshman year. But Allie Biggs, Jenna Clausius, Grace Crawl had superb games. I think that Coach Sayer is going to rely upon that trio quite a bit throughout the duration of the season. And then Coach Sims for Perrysburg, Chloe Kilbride. She's just clean and smooth and crisp and does the right things. I always like, no matter, you don't necessarily have to impress me by scoring 37 points, although that is terrific, but you can impact the game in any sport in a variety of ways. You don't have to go get a triple-double. If you play clean basketball, make the right pass, make the right box out, don't allow your opponent to
hustle
to
plays,
go off,
whatever.
all that type of stuff. And I think Chloe Kilbride fits the bill with that. And both of these teams will schedule tough. And one thing to note with these games, if it's a battle for second place, say it is in the NLL, but when it comes to the tournament time, this type of game, when it's a 2 versus 3, second place versus third place kind of thing, they really impact the RPI ratings that the OHSA uses, and those will first be released in mid-January as they accumulate some games to have some data points here. But those types of wins, albeit early in the season, still impact those ratings.
Well, that's the thing. Like, right, early in the season, it's an NLL win. It's a momentum builder. Kind of sets the tone. Like, all right, this is what we need to work on. If we're Perrysburg, or hey, these are things we're doing well to beat good teams. If you're Northview,
and we talked about it on Friday. I mean, the impact of playing big games, rivalry games early. You know,
absolutely.
Some people think, I want to wait for the buildup, but I think some coaches, hey, let's see where we're at now. And I think if you're Northview, you did a good job of scouting. No, Perrysburg, they score a lot of points. They average almost 62 points a game in their wins. In their losses, they're 41 points
on the
per
notebook.
game. Exactly. So when you talk about Coach Sayer, I'm sure he saw that. Even though they were down by 21, 21-20, excuse me, at halftime, they say, hey, we're right where we need to be defensively. Let's stay with it, guys, score a couple buckets, and we can win this game, which is what they did.
And right there, giving up 36 points per game is Perrysburg. So they were holding them where they wanted them at the half. But you talked about it. That's the big thing, right? If I know, hey, this team wants to get out, run the floor, let's call it, right? Hold the ball a little bit longer, take slower possessions, take away their chances to score. They did just that. 47-40, you see it, the final score. Northview gets the win. And now it's time to go to our clip of the week, brought to you by Renewal by Anderson. All right, I gave Brandon Ingram a shout-out earlier in the show for his 28 points in this game. 4 of them came off highlights and high-flying action. Brandon Ingram, it's a little right-side action, one-handed slam. He gets it done on defense, too, as you see right here. Gets the poke away. Oh, I'm running the court. I'll handle this myself, don't you worry. One hand again. That right hand was busy with the steals, with the dunks on Saturday night. Battle of Sylvania. You need big plays in your rivalry match. We just talked about it early season. A big win for Southview on their home court, and Brandon Ingram had himself a night, gentlemen.
How about some help side defense there?
Yep, right.
Need a little bit of that. But, yeah, I like the cup one, the slam right there. He's an electrifying player, as you see in dunks at the high school level. Dunks are fun to watch. And this was a well-rounded game for Southview and a packed house at Southview, so defending your home court. And this is a legit rivalry, too. Programs and communities that believe in basketball and will put some resources behind it and want to succeed and want to win. And Southview has a number of different players. Will Maisie's the quarterback for the football team.
Yes.
He had 20-plus points in this game, and in some ways a quiet 20 points. But, yeah, Brandon Ingram, clip of the week, very deserving.
If you take one thing from this episode, ladies and gentlemen, dunks are fun to watch. Justin Feldkamp.
We love that. Yeah, come on. I mean, then you got throw Witcher in there.
Yeah, throw Witcher in.
Look at that crowd. See, that's what I look at.
I mean, love that.
Basketball is back and in full swing when you see that.
Hey, that's plenty of stuff. I know there was plenty of stuff that could have come out for our student sections of the week from that one. A 67-55 win for Southview in this matchup, and I'm sure we're going to see plenty from Brandon Ingram like this all season long for the Cougars. 28 points, as I said, in that one. You want more clips just like this one, or you just want to watch one of those dunks again, it's over on our TikTok, at BCSN Sports. Get us up to 10,000 followers. We got the watches, views rolling in. Keep them coming, and now it's time for student section of the week. The very first place the chain is making its stop, and it's going to the pit. St. John's and St. Francis this Friday. I know it was already going to be hype. We're taking it up a notch because the belt, or the chain, I'm so excited about the belt, and we delivered it to Mommy. It's chain time. The chain gang is rolling through to St. John's. Justin, who's taking it? Putting you on the spot again. You're the boss. You have to know this.
Nicole or Sherwood. Nicole will be there. And I want to say one note. St. Francis kind of double dips when it comes to student section because they show up and show out at Tam O'Shanter as well when they're on the ice, and they're St. Francis hockey team, but they'll be in full force in Friday night inside the pit. BCSN game of the week, St. Francis and St. John's.
A double dip game of the week, student section of the week. It's all going down at St. Francis this week. We'll talk more about that later, but we got to get it to a great matchup from last night at the Whitmer Memorial Fieldhouse. Lima Senior and Whitmer, a test for two strong teams. Whitmer off to a slow start, right? 0-2 to start the season. Not doing well defensively. They were giving up 83 points a game coming into this, and a team that we know can fill up the bucket. They needed to get a few stops. They did so last night, maybe in part to some poor shooting from Lima Senior, 2 of 18 from 3, 10 of 17 from the free throw line. But you get the job done in what felt like a must-win for Coach Stacy and the Panthers.
Yeah, it was. They were 0-2 going in, and what I like what Coach Stacy did, he took accountability. He says, "Hey, I got to coach these guys up a little bit better. My guys aren't playing as controlled." But look at the score: 62-64, and 66-64. And I'm gonna tell you why that's key. Whitmer hit 4 free throws. I know I harp on this, but they hit 4 free throws down the stretch.
Yes.
And it was their 2 stars. It was 𝗦𝗫𝐿𝐻 and West. They hit 2 and 2. That sealed the game.
Yes.
It was an outstanding game. Another great crowds. Whitmer, to me, when I watch them, they're very good when they're going to the basket. Sometimes they hang out and shoot shots and miss, which is what Lima Senior did. Yeah, and it's okay. I understand the 3-point, that we're in a new era of basketball now, but you have 2 guys that can get to the basket whenever they want, and it'll collapse the defense, and then they'll be able to kick it out, get those like open-looking threes, as opposed to just trying to break down the defense. I know they run a lot of ISO sets. They got guys that can do it, obviously.
Yeah, use your strength.
But to me, last night was a huge win. It was a must-win. I hate to say it early in the season, because you tank 0-3, mentally you start wondering, are we as good as what people are saying?
Yeah.
And I think they are now.
Yeah, you talk about if they fall to 3 losses this early in the season, they matched last year, right? They were 25-3, made their way to a state Final Four. Leach, 28 points, 5 boards. Antoine West, 22 points and 5 boards. Those guys stepped up, and Coach Stacy talked about it. He said, "I thought I did a really good job getting our team prepared to understand last year was over. This is this year. You guys got to go prove it this year, because we hit those 3 losses already, and things start to maybe spiral a little bit."
Yeah, you bring up Leach and West, 2 potential first-team All-BCSN players. That back again, once again. You'd be hard-pressed to find a team in the state of Ohio who's scheduled a more difficult start to the season than Whitmer, with Reynoldsburg and Centerville and Lima Senior. Lima Senior, a Division II team, Whitmer, a Division I team. So they will not meet in the postseason like they have in recent postseasons. But, Whitmer, you can't necessarily say a must-win because it's such an early-going portion, plus the expanded divisions and the teams being more spread out. So, but regardless, just a well-played game. And I said this off of the podcast, that hats off to both of these guys for scheduling this game, because it's a non-league game. They used to play in the Three Rivers Athletic Conference in the same conference, but no longer that is the case. So we got the NLL versus the City League now, and you don't have to do these games. I think a Tuesday night during the school year for Lima Senior, they ain't getting back off the bus probably until maybe closer to midnight, or at least getting home around midnight. But yeah, you brought it up there with free throws being very key. They were 10 of 17, Lima was, and then 2 of 18 from three-point land. They missed some layups, some contested layups in that fourth quarter. So hats off to Whitmer's defense as well. But this was a fun game to watch. Yeah. And then when you need buckets, they have a number of guys on both sides of this team that can do just that. And Sean Foster, just a sophomore. And I know he's
so talented.
He's outside of our BCSN viewing area, but with them being in the City League, we're going to see quite a bit of Lima Senior. Yeah. Sean Foster, he's smooth. He is clean. He likes to play on both sides of the ball. And he's a fun player. I like to say worth the price of admission.
Yeah, we got plenty of those around the area, and especially that sophomore class, right? Him, Isaiah, Mac Russell. We got studs on the sophomore side. I know you had something, Dion.
Yeah, I wanted to say this. I think Whitmer has discovered some good complementary players, too.
Yeah.
You have Young and Harrelson.
Andre Young, yeah.
And Beach, he's the defensive specialist guy from the football team. Sure. So now they're starting to understand roles, and I think it's key, especially if they want to have the success that they had last year.
Absolutely. They found their keys, and I'm excited for what we're going to find Friday night is our game of the week brought to you by Dunn Chevy in Oregon. Cisco, you know what to do. All right, I already told you the chain's coming to the pit, but the Titans, they're coming to the pit too. St. John's, St. Francis, you want early season rivalry. You don't get much bigger than St. John's, St. Francis. We talked about St. John's, that very tough loss to Orchard Lake St. Mary's on free throws, essentially, is where that loss came from for St. John's. St. Francis coming in 2-0. They beat Lima CC 51-49 on Saturday. And they got some guys, too. Allen Logan Horton, Jameson Heck, freshman Polnitz in there playing ball for St. Francis. It should be a fun one, Dion.
God, it makes me feel old. I played against the granddad, Chris Polnitz. This guy played at Scott. But, no, listen, if you're watching this, guys, get to the JV game. You're not going to be able to find anywhere else to park.
Got to get there early.
This game is going to go crazy because you got two outstanding teams, and you could see the maturation of both teams. Last year, we talked about it.
Yeah.
I think when they went to the Catholic League, little shell shock.
Sure.
Now they know they can compete. We're going to see the Hortons out there and then Race Co. I mean, this is going to be the game, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, that is the matchup I've highlighted coming into this one is Race Kowalczyk and the Hortons because he looked really, really good last week against Trey McKinney. Right, and Trey McKinney's a thick dude. He's strong, and Race, he's got some muscle to put on, I think.
Yeah, but if he gets to long, a spot,
he's in good spots. Yes, he played a really good job of just being very long and being in the way. And you got to be long and in the way with these Hortons because there's some big dudes too.
And reaching out to the both head coaches to kind of get a picture of the game plan or the keys to the game.
Sure.
Coach Schoen told me that they got to contain Jameson Heck. He's one of those guys, and the rebuilding effort that Coach Kaczmarek took over at St. Francis, they had to rely upon some young guys who earned their way.
Yeah.
It's rare for a school like St. Francis to have young players playing varsity as freshmen. Jameson Heck did just that. So he has been a guy who is just smart basketball IQ that we talked about earlier. And then defending the post for St. John's with the Hortons you talked about.
Yes.
And then managing the atmosphere. That place, the pit, you are right
Raucous.
on top of the court. And that visiting student section is right there in the corner. And then the St. Francis student section kind of on the stage there.
Yeah.
So when you're shooting free throws for St. John's, like you're going to be looking at
at least 2 quarters of the game.
So that's a key element when you're talking about, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds. And then for St. Francis, for Coach Kaczmarek, he said, play out of the post. So that's the key thing for me. Both coaches brought up the fact that the post play is going to be very, very important because they run so much in all their sets and getting other players open from the post position. So that'll be key. Defend the three-point perimeter for St. Francis because we did see a number of three-point attempts for St. John's in their game against St. Mary's. Sure. And then execute in transition. Coach Jamie told me that he said we should have won some games earlier this year if we just finished our layups and finished contested layups when we earned a new possession by getting a steal or got a rebound and then got out quickly with some good outlet passes, but then they just couldn't finish at the rim. So those are the things that I'll be keeping an eye on in this one.
I would say Jameson has been a heck of a player.
Oh,
it's gift wrapped. I can't do it. It's Christmas time gift wrap. We're nailing things here inadvertently, but yeah, that's another fun matchup, right? Is young Ethan James, who's stepping into that point guard role for St. John's. Jameson Heck, the wily veteran, been there, seen it, done it all. And then obviously we talked about that post matchup, right? And they did a great job, I thought, last week of getting the ball down to Race Kowalczyk and then popping it out to guys like Jaden Jones, to guys like Ethan James, who can fill up from the outside. Coy Hammock had a nice little slam on the baseline for St. John's. This one should be a ton of fun. You can catch it 7 p.m. on BCSN or the BCSN Plus app this Friday in the pit. The student section chain will be there. We'll be there, and everybody from both of these schools will be there. Packed house, get there early. And then now it's time to go back in time. We're leaving St. Francis, and we're going over to another rival of theirs, the Whitmer Panthers, one of the best offensive linemen we've seen come out. We had another one come out this year. Storm was up there with him. Storm Norton, a star on the football field, a huge presence on the basketball court, much like the Hortons are at 6'8". Storm took up a whole lot of space. First team All-State football, the district lineman of the year his senior year. Went to the state semifinals his junior and senior year at Whitmer, and then went over to the University of Toledo. 2 times a first-team All-MAC player, 46 career games Storm played for the Rockets, a dominant force for the Rockets now in his 8th year in the NFL, playing with the Lions, Cardinals, Vikings, Chargers, Saints, and now re-signing with the Falcons in the offseason. Fun story, when he got signed to the Falcons last year, he was on the Saints practice squad. That week they were playing in London. So Storm left at New Orleans on Tuesday, Atlanta on Wednesday, took his physical, flew straight to London on that Thursday. I was talking to his dad about it. And Justin, you got to talk with Storm this offseason about a lot of that experience he's had.
Yeah, he was a guest on our Inside Out program here. And let me just say, Storm Norton, Nigel Hayes, and Chris Wormley, 3 professional-level athletes that have come out of Whitmer, all in a 2-year span for the Panthers. Those guys never forget from where they came because they give back to the community. They don't just cut checks. They show up. They come back to the 419, and they truly believe in Toledo and Whitmer and what lives can be changed from the successes that they've had and what they've been able to achieve. And they want to create opportunities for the future Storms and Nigels and Chris's of the world. Yeah,
luckily for me, I got to know all 3 of them on a personal level, growing up around them, growing up with them. Great young men. Storm Norton, one of our top 20 male athletes of the BCSN era. Only 3 of them left to spotlight that we'll get into next week. But now we got to get to 30 seconds from our sponsor, Buffalo Wild Wings.
I've saved so much money enjoying Buffalo Wild Wings BOGO half-off traditional wing Tuesdays. I can finally afford everything I've ever wanted in life. Wings. All I ever wanted was more wings. So yeah, buy one, get one half-off traditional wings is the perfect deal for me and my lifetime yearnings. I value it more than literally anything. Buffalo Wild Wings. Let's go sports bar.
At participating locations, not valid with other offers or discounts. See website or app for details.
All I want for Christmas this year is a games list. Lucky for me, I make them every week. I know they're here. They say get yourself a gift you want. You don't have to worry about anything. Here we go. Thursday night, boys basketball, Evergreen, Hills. Whole lot of fun there. Girls basketball, Central and Bowser. And then a slate of Friday night action. We talked about the game of the week. Huge early season City League matchup. Rogers and Start. Detroit CC coming down to Central Catholic for some CHSL action. Waite, Bowser, Delta Northwood, Eastwood and Maumee. There'll be some great student section of the season action going on at there. Maumee's celebrating that a little bit. And then girls side, Notre Dame, Perrysburg, and then TC and Hills. We got a busy Friday, gentlemen. Yeah,
I want to update Notre Dame. Perrysburg actually pulled a quick one on us, had to reschedule that game, so that'll be bamboozled on a different date. So that will not be on Friday, but still a good clash when the Eagles and the Yellow Jackets get together. 2 other programs who like to schedule tough to get tested, especially early in the season. Fool. Also, I want to talk about Central Catholic because they, along with St. John's and St. Francis, I think you've got the Toledo Cup when it comes to the wrestling match with those 3 teams. Sure. I think there's very thin margin differentiation between those 3. It is going to be interesting to see. And yes, we know that they're playing in the Detroit-based CHSL. So it's not just those 3 competing for a top spot or first place. Right. But still, when you're saying, okay, the 3 best teams from the Toledo in that league, you want to come out on top, and all 3 of them have a legit chance to say that they are valid of that number 1 spot.
And we saw how that CHSL play battle-hardened all 3 of those teams into the playoffs last year. I know Dion's excited for Rogers and Start.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth.
I know it.
That is going to be a huge game. This is going to be another game. It's going to be really crowded.
Oh, yeah.
And we talked about it earlier. Lima Senior, Rogers, and Start. Those guys are going to be vying for the top spot in the City League. That's going to be a great game.
Plenty of action on Friday night. You'll see Dion at the table with Rhett, and then Joel, and then Mark. Justin will be there for 13 ABC Sports. We got plenty going on Friday night. You want to see you right here next Wednesday for our last episode of 2024. Don't miss it. Be here every single Wednesday at 4 p.m. for a brand new episode. Follow at Thompson Jiu Jitsu on Instagram, at Justin Feldkamp, at BCSN Sports. We got a brand new episode coming out next Wednesday, and we'll recap everything we talked about today and get you ready for the last week of hoop season of 2024. We'll see you next week.